guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Margarita and today I'm here to bring you another recommendations video for retellings. Today I'm going to be talking about Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. This is the original story and this basically follows our main character Peter Pan, who never grows up. He lives in Neverland and he never grows up. He has a band of boys called the Lost Boys that also never grow up. And the shenanigans that he gets into, he meets Wendy Darling and her brothers, and he whisks them off to Neverland in the shenanigans that all of them get up to, and, you know, what happens in the story of that. So, I had never read the original story. All I had to base my opinions of Peter Pan off of were the Disney adaptation. This is definitely different from the Disney adaptation, but there are some definite also, similarities between the two. You can tell where they drew, but they left some stuff out. I enjoyed this. I think it's a really cute story. It's darker than I was expecting. It's not dark, but it's a little bit darker than I was expecting a children's story to be, but still really enjoyed this. So now let me talk to you about some retellings that I've read that I thoroughly enjoyed and why. The first book that I'm going to talk about is Alias Hook by Lisa Jensen. This follows the story of Captain Hook more so than the story of Peter Pan, but obviously you can't have Captain Hook without Peter Pan. And this book is very, very dark, and Peter Pan is the bad guy in this book, not Captain Hook. And Peter is not necessarily evil in this book, but he's a little boy. And little kids don't necessarily know the difference between real life and their imaginations, you know what I mean? So he thinks that if he kills off this supposed bad guy in Neverland, it has no repercussions. He's just playing, he's having fun. Somebody else will come and take that spot. So he doesn't actually really understand the consequences of his actions, so it doesn't make him evil, but he's still the villain in this story, regardless. And you learn about Captain Hook's backstory. There's also a love story that Captain Hook has, and it's really, really good. I liked the dark aspect of this book. I thought it was really well written, and I read this, I want to say a year or two ago, and I still remember quite a bit about it, and I want to reread it, so I think that tells me that it was a good book. The next one is also a darker retelling of Peter Pan, and that is The Child Thief by Brom. And the thing that I love most about this particular retelling are the illustrations. Brom, I believe, is an artist who, you know, designs these characters and then comes up with stories. So all of these characters he actually illustrates and has in the middle of the book. And it's very, very interesting, and I really enjoyed it. And this is basically the story of this young boy who's taken by Peter to go and become a lost boy, and how they're fighting against Captain Hook and his band of pirates that are destroying the land. And it's not necessarily, it's more of I want to say a commentary about, you know, religion and how religious views can take on like the mystical and the natural and all that kind of stuff and make that the enemy and destroy things in the name of some god or something, if that makes sense. It has that dynamic in it, and I really enjoyed it. It's really dark, it's really good, and Peter is trying to save Neverland because Captain Hook and the people that are with him, I want to say they're kind of like Puritans or something, but those people are going around and they're destroying all the magic and all the everything that makes Neverland what it is, although in this story it's called Avalon, and they're destroying it, and it's destroying this world, and Peter's trying to save it, and to do so he gets boys from out in the world that he thinks are neglected, and he brings them back to fight and die for Neverland. So definitely good. I really enjoyed it. It is creepy and it is good, and I loved it. And there are also illustrations that he does before each chapter. highly recommend. I think it's really good. On a lighter note, there is Tiger Lily by Jodi Lynn Anderson. I love this book. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I absolutely loved it. This is the story of Peter Pan, but told from the perspective of Tiger Lily, but narrated by Tinkerbell. It is so beautiful. It follows Tiger Lily and how she's different from everybody else in her tribe, and how her, I think it's her godfather, I don't think it's her actual dad or grandpa, but like her godfather is two-spirit, which basically means he's a man, but he embodies the spirit of a man and a woman, and he's like their shaman. And how when outsiders come, how dangerous that is to their way of life and their society, and how she befriends Peter Pan and the relationship between the two, and what happens when Wendy comes to the island. And it's just so beautiful. And one of the things I really love about this is that it stays true to the original story in the sense that Tiger Lily and Peter don't end up together, but they fall in love. And the story is basically about how it's okay to love someone and not be with them, because that's life. You don't always end up with the person that you love, but you find new loves, and it's just such a beautiful story. I absolutely loved it. I highly, highly recommend it. I want to go back, reread it and annotate it, because I just loved it so much. I actually read this from the library and loved it so much, I went out and bought it like not even a week later. So I highly recommend this. And last but not least, we're back on the darker side of retellings. I like darker retellings. I mean, sue me, whatever. And that is Lost Boy by Christina Henry. This is one of my favorite books, I think. It is absolutely beautiful. This is the story of James, and how he brings boys to Neverland. Not James, Peter brings boys to Neverland, and James is one of those boys. And how they start to realize that, you know, not everything Peter says is gold. Not everything Peter does is good. And how things are not what they seem when it comes to Peter. That he's lying to the boys about a lot of things. But James is his best friend. And James has taken on the role of almost father figure of these boys. Because Peter, again, like in the first book, doesn't really... I don't know if he doesn't realize the consequences of his actions, or he just doesn't care, because if one of the Lost Boys gets killed, he just goes out and gets another one. So it doesn't matter to him who dies as long as it's him and James. And it is so good. I absolutely love this. My favorite thing about this book, you've heard it a million times, I'm sure, if you've seen any of my videos about this book, is that it talks about love and what toxic love is, and how that's not love. That someone can tell you that they love you, but if all they do is show you that they don't, and that they don't care about you, and that they want to control you and manipulate you and have you be the perfect version of you in their minds, like you have to live by their rules, that's not love. That's fucked up, and that's not okay. And it tells that story, and it is so beautiful, and it is so well written, and it is so thrilling and gripping the whole time. Absolutely love this book. This one is definitely a dark story. I would go into it keeping that in mind. It can be a little hard to read at times, but it is so good, and in my opinion, so worth the read. So let me know in the comments down below if you have read any of those books, your thoughts and opinions on them. If you have any Peter Pan retellings that you think I would enjoy and that I should read, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!